Greetings, friends. Welcome once again. I know it may be a little echoey in here, so I apologize. If it's too bad, I won't use this room anymore, but I wanted to talk more about some spooky stories, dark thoughts. I guess I'm kind of on that train of thinking recently. So, this is just going to be a brief video. I'll share 3 stories with you. They're not my own stories, they're just stories that I've remembered for being notable. And I wanted to call the topic of this video, the title, something to do with what is it about 2 mirrors facing each other? Why is that uncanny? Again, I find it uncanny. Maybe not everyone would. What is it about that? And look, I'm not an expert in the occult. Or all these esoteric branches of knowledge. I mean, I'm doing my best. I read in different topics. I'm reading about astrology right now, but that's a bit different. But I have come across, people talking about when you put 2 mirrors facing each other, that's inviting activity that you might be unprepared for. So you might, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Christians might, some of them might say you're inviting the devil, you're inviting Satan, who knows? Why? Because of all these strange stories that come out over the years. And the last video where I was exploring the abandoned theme park, Ontario Place, I was talking about the fun house, and I was saying there's just something about a fun house which is kind of uncanny. Even if when I'm an adult, it would be weird to step inside an active, or let alone an abandoned fun house. Because if you know for years that you've had mirrors facing each other, and then all the other activity associated with a fun house, the aspect of clowns, the aspects of tricks, and more importantly, the presence of children, in my opinion, will attract malevolent spirits, tricksters, whatever you call them, little running men. I don't necessarily mean gnomes, but gnomes are similar. I don't know, gnomes are also attracted to children. So there are these malevolent spirits that are attracted to children. That's always how it's been. You can be a skeptic about these things, fine, but would you want to have a day camp? Even let me put it this way: if you're a total skeptic, would you still want to have your kid going to a day camp that was an abandoned funhouse, an abandoned theme park? I think everything else is safe. Staff are great, but just knowing that, I mean, I don't know. Some people are different. I'm more about feeling. Today we're all, they're saying, oh, the left is feeling over facts, and that's a different way of looking at it. But I'm talking about feeling and kind of like perception, something that's quite real. It's just a different. This is not science. Science is great. Science is one of the pillars of understanding. But there's other sensations we have in which we also approach truth, and you can't shoot down all of them. They all stand as they've been standing for, like as they would have stood with the ancient Egyptians and the people before that. So I don't know, that was what got me thinking about the 2, what is it about the 2 mirrors facing each other? So this young lady from England, she told me that the only thing that made her believe in ghosts, because I ask people about this sometimes, and she said, well, for me, it was when she was a young girl, maybe around 10. At least that's the thing, because children are more susceptible to this. But she was with some adult who was practicing a ritual and lighting candles in a dark room, like on Halloween or something like that, and put the 2 mirrors facing to each other, and some inviting, welcoming a spirit or some being. And so this young lady from Britain, she said, yeah, she did see something coming, because when you put the 2 mirrors together, it's like a tunnel going off into infinity, because it just reflects an image, and then that reflects, and then that reflects, and you get. So coming from the very distance, there is something starting to come through. Again, just a story, just a fancy story. The second one would be, the radio show Coast to Coast. I mean, if you're into the paranormal, I'm sure you've heard of Coast to Coast. I really like Art Bell, George Norrie. He's not the same thing. But I do remember George Norrie mentioning this story. It wasn't his own story, but something about, it was again a similar theme. He was talking about someone reporting that they had made a box, a four-sided box, with mirrors on the inside. How fucked up is that? You intentionally make a box with mirrors on the inside, so there's no light in there. There's absolutely no light. You seal it. You completely seal it, and you leave it there. And this person who made this four-sided, box with mirrors on the inside reported hearing grumbling sounds, roaring, like there was like some sort of thing over the coming days trying to get out of the box. What are you? It's very irresponsible to do this, to play around with mirrors when you realize there are other dimensions here, and we don't exactly know how the reality we're familiar with interacts with the other dimensions. The final story doesn't have to do with mirrors facing each other. I just wanted to throw it into this video. Again, if you're into the paranormal and this stuff, perhaps you've seen this documentary from it was focused on Iceland. And it was made 5-6 years ago. I don't know. It's not that old, and it was on YouTube. And I watched this several-hour-long documentary. It was fascinating because for the Scandinavians, I believe, and particularly in Iceland, maybe because it's so isolated, there's a much more higher percentage of people having these experiences, especially with what we would call mythical creatures, like gnomes, elves, that kind of stuff, and they're all people from all walks of society, like government officials, just anyone, have these experiences there, and it's much more accepted, probably not officially, but, in the general culture, grassroots culture. And they were interviewing this one police officer who had this really, I guess from Iceland it's a different culture, so people are more emotionally reserved, but he was telling the story, and he was saying, up until the age of puberty, he claimed to play with elves. And these elf-like beings he would actually go into the rock, because Iceland is very rocky and stony, and he would literally walk through the rock into this other world with the elves. And then something like when he was approaching puberty, that the elves told him okay, you can't come in here anymore. So he wasn't able to go back. But the fucked up thing is at the end of this exchange where he was telling the story, he was like, I just wanted to go back, or sometimes I wish I could just go back in there. I wish I could just let the rock swallow me up and engulf me. And I was like, whoa, that's really fucked up. That's fucked up. Like, he wanted to just be trapped in that other fucking reality. So be careful with these things. I mean, you may be a skeptic, so then you're not afraid of this, but at least for the sake of your kids are more sensitive to these things. I don't know, maybe it's like the way dogs can see things that humans can't. I mean, I'm not saying, children are more advanced than adults. I don't know, they're more attuned to certain energies that perhaps they get cut off with as they get older. So, you might not want to have your kid going to a day camp in an abandoned funhouse mirror maze. There are trickster spirits, or maybe some of them mean us well, maybe some of them don't mean us so well. And that's all I have to say for now. Hasta luego, amigos.